Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am all about the fantastic Everyday Arches bundle, a Stampin' Up! Online exclusive product. Now, this bundle is actually part of a suite called Everyday Skies, and I'm going to be featuring some of the designer paper from the suite today, as well as the bundle. So I have 3 projects to demonstrate. 2 of them are really quick and easy, thanks to the fabulous DSP in this suite. And then the third one is a fun fold. And then I'm going to show you a few more fun ideas that I came up with for this bundle. So if you are joining me, whether live or on the replay, let me know that you are here. It's always nice to have people say hello so I can see where you're coming from. And while you are doing that, I am going to flip to my desk and show you these products. There we go. All right, so the Everyday Arches bundle consists of this fabulous stamp set with lots of arch-shaped sentiments. That is harder to say than you might think. Arch-shaped sentiments in several different fonts, as well as some cute little images. I actually have not used a whole lot of the images. I've used these little birds. You're going to see that on our first project. But I love the sentiments in this, and I love that they are designed to work with these fantastic dies. Now, I've been talking about these dies for a couple of months now. They are simply spectacular. There are 10 different sizes of arches. This is the largest one. It's essentially a card front size, this largest one, right down to this itty bitty one, which is about 1 inch in width. So just fantastic dies in this. And honestly, this is a craft room staple for me. It's one of those, it's just like circle dies and label dies. This is one that everybody needs to have in their studio. Now, I've been saying that, and I have to say these are out of stock right now. I checked the inventory status. They're due back in next week. So if you haven't yet got these, just hold on. They'll be back in stock soon and you can snag them. Okay, so that's the bundle. And then we have this gorgeous DSP. Now, I just happened to be scrolling through Facebook just before I went live, and I saw that Sarah Douglas, our Stampin' Up! CEO, is featuring this DSP on her live today. Sorry, I'm just going to stop and take a drink. I have a nasty cold that has been hanging on since last week. You recall last week, I had just come from festival and had a bit of a croak going on, and yeah, it's been a doozy. Let me just put it that way. So fantastic DSPs. Sarah shared sort of the making of. So these are all hand painted on canvas in the concept art department at Stampin' Up! And they're just fantastic sunset scenes. So lots of different skies. I don't know if you're anything like me and you love to look at cloud formations, especially at sunset. Or during storms. There are just so many amazing things that happen naturally in our skies. And look at this one, the night sky with the clouds. Love, love, love this paper. Love this sunny. This reminds me of summer. I'm dying for the snow to melt and summer to come. This one as well, this bright blue summer or springtime sky with fluffy white clouds. Love this sunset scene. You're going to see that on a card in a few minutes. And then one more. And then on the reverse sides, we have just some more subdued patterns. We've got some stripes. There's one in the Misty Moonlight and in Cajun Craze. We've got some washes in Moody Mauve and Peach Pie. And then we've got these itty bitty birds. I don't know if you can see those. So lots of different patterns in the bird. So we've got the pink on pink, the pink on blue. We've got sort of a peach on pink. And then we have several starry sky patterns in different colors. So this again is a pink on blue. This is blue on blue. And then we've got a pink on the berry burst. And then there's one more. We've also got the pink stripe. Okay, so just fantastic paper. So many possible uses for it. So before we get started, I'm just going to acknowledge all of you who have joined us here. Hi, Lauren from Philadelphia. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Doris. Hi, Jeannie K. Yes, it feels like spring. The temperature feels like spring here, but the snow would tell us otherwise. We've still got a good foot of snow that needs to melt. Hi, Jeanette from Australia. Hi, Wendy. Welcome. Glad you could join me live. Hi, Susan from Florida. A little envious of the sunshine there right now. Hi, Sonia and Renee and Terry. Cheryl, hello. Hi, Carla. Welcome, welcome. All right, Louise, glad you were able to make it back. Yes, Doris, it is a die set that will never leave my studio either. Yes, wasn't that an interesting live, Louise? If you haven't caught it, I would encourage you to check that out. It's on Sarah Douglas Facebook page. She goes live every Tuesday just before I do, and she did a really cool feature on this paper today. All right, so let's get to stamping. I said we're going to do 2 really quick and easy cards. So often I just do 1 quick and easy card, but this paper makes it so easy to put together really fast and easy projects without a whole lot of fuss. So we're going to put together this one. So we'll start with some of this fabulous DSP. So it's got that sort of cloud formation on the back, but it's got this sort of starry sky pattern with some shooting stars in there as well. So this is cut to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then we're going to layer a piece of this silver textured metallic cardstock. This is another online exclusive that I think a lot of people have missed. So it's a pack of silver and gold, and it's got this subtle sort of texture embossed in it. It comes that way. And I'm finding myself reaching for this a lot because it just adds really, really simple texture and a bit of that metallic sheen. So this piece is 1 1/2 by 3 3/4. So we're going to go ahead and adhere that to our DSP. I'm going to use a little bit of seal here. And I'm going to use my grid paper to help me get this straight because my eye is not as straight as I might like to think it is. So grid paper is your friend. That's maybe a little bit lower than I did it on my sample, but that's all right. And then we're going to add some navy linen thread. So this is from the linen thread that was part of the Nests of Winter pack that was in the holiday catalog and is still available. It comes in a 3-pack with navy and copper clay and garden green. And I'm finding that there are lots of papers in both the online exclusives and the mini that use those colors. So I'm using them a lot. Actually, I think more than I did during the life of the holiday catalog. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue. So just a glue dot to the back of my panel here. I've taken a length of thread and folded it in half because I want a double thickness. And I'm just going to press one end of my thread into that glue dot. I'm going to lay it across the front. And then again, I'm going to add another glue dot and then wrap those ends and secure them. Okay, so that avoids me having to waste twine by wrapping it all the way around the backside. So we're only using what we need on the front. Okay, all right, so now we're going to layer that on a piece of Night of Navy cardstock. So this is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So nice narrow border all the way around. And whenever I'm working with narrow borders, I like to use liquid glue because it gives me that extra time to wiggle things into position. Hi, Charlie, welcome. I'm glad you could make it. We'll pop this on. Make sure it's centered. And then that is going to get adhered to an Azure Afternoon card base. This is a color I do not use enough. I love it, but I just don't use it enough. So I thought it worked really, really well. And there is a little hint of that lighter blue in the DSP. So this is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. So we'll just fold that in half along our score line. And then we're going to pop this on to our card base. And what I like about using a slightly smaller panel is that it gives me a nice wide border. So we have the narrow border sort of matting the DSP and then a wider border to frame it. I like the look of that. All right, so for our focal image, I've cut 2 arches. They're both the same size, one from just Azure Afternoon cardstock and the other from some of the Everyday Skies DSP. And we're going to layer those. But first, we're going to stamp on our cardstock arch. So I'm going to just use Night of Navy ink, and I'm going to stamp Reach for the Stars on that Azure Afternoon arch. And whenever I'm stamping on colored cardstock, I tend to let my stamp sit on the cardstock just a little bit longer than I normally would. I find I just get a crisper image. It just gives a little bit extra time for that ink to transfer. Okay, so we are going to layer these now. So I'm just going to take and glue my DSP onto my cardstock. And to do that, I'm just going to take and put a little bit of seal here. Now, I do, again, want to make sure these are straight because I want to make sure that when I layer these, they end up straight so that when I glue them on my card, I have a chance of getting them straight. If I'm starting with them crooked, I'm probably not going to have much success at getting things on there straight. Okay, so there are my layered arches. Now that is just going to get popped up on the front of our card, but first, we're going to stamp some swallows or sparrows. I'm not sure which they are. I think they look like swallows to me. So we're going to stamp a pair of them in navy ink right on our DSP. So we're going to stamp them, I don't know, let's stamp them kind of coming up from the clouds. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp one more. I didn't bring my chamois over, so I'm going to be super careful here. And I'm going to stamp one more kind of coming up and on this way. Okay, so there are my 3 swallows. All right, and then we are going to pop these up. So we'll add some dimensionals to the back of our arches. My thumbnail has not grown back yet, so I still have to work pretty hard to peel these backings off. So we're going to pop this on, I don't know, right about there, I guess, ish. That works for me. And then we're going to bring back our twine and tie a little bow. Now, when you get to the end of your roll of twine and it gets really, really curly like this, it can be very hard to work with. So what I like to do is just take my bone folder and my thumb, and I just kind of run the twine over my bone folder with my thumb, and it kind of irons it. It straightens it out considerably. Now it's much easier to work with. So I'm going to tie my bow and adjust my loops. And then we're going to trim this off our roll. And then I also like to take my bone folder and adjust the direction of where I want my loops to go. I don't want them to be super curly, so I'm going to straighten them out. There we go. And then we're going to adhere that with a glue dot. So whenever I'm working with twine, I like to take a glue dot and cut it in half. So I don't have quite as much adhesive. Then I'm going to take and just roll that into an itty bitty booger. And I'm going to press it right onto where my arch and my twine meet. And then press the knot right into the glue dot. And that keeps it nice and secure. It looks like it's tied. It's not. It's a cheater. But it's a good way to save yourself some twine without wasting a whole bunch wrapping it around the backside. Okay. And then our last touch is a little bit of bling. So I'm going to use some of these, I don't know what these are, glitter something embellishments. They're in the annual. And these little silver ones, they kind of look like rhinestones, but they're kind of glittery. They're a little bit different. They're not quite as blingy as rhinestones. I thought these worked quite nicely without being too feminine looking. I didn't want anything that was, you know, super girly. So I'm changing my placement on this one. I put them up a little bit higher, mainly because my whole, do you see how this is? Well, no, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, no, it's lower. See how this is up a little bit higher than this one? So I felt like I like my bling up here, but here I wanted it to kind of stay centered. So 2 different ways to do it. It works both. All right, so you like that one? Now I'll quick show you what I did on the inside of this one. I had a little bit more of the DSP left, so I just added it to the bottom of my white panel and then stamped another sentiment from the Everyday Arches stamp set, and then one more little stamped off sparrow. Okay, so there we go. That is that. Let's move on to number 2. I told you these were quick and easy. Set that aside. And we're going to bring in number 2. So number 2 I posted yesterday. So It is not an especially happy news world right now. It seems every time you turn on the news, there's more bad news. So I feel like we all could use a little sunshine in our lives. And I thought this card is just, it's perfect to send to someone to encourage them amid all of the bad news that seems to be prevalent these days. So I just love the bright orange against the stormy sky. So let me show you how to put this one together. So we are going to start with another piece of the Everyday Arches DSP. So this is that sort of dark, stormy night pattern. And on the back, it's got, again, some more starry skies. But I love this sort of stormy pattern here. So this is cut to standard 4x5 1/4. And then I have, again, 3 arches this time, the same size. And one is from that beautiful sunset image that or pattern that I had shown you in the DSP. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Now this sentiment comes in one continuous arch, but I wanted to be able to split it up so that I could have my ray of sunshine in the middle. So what we're going to do is, I'll show you. All right. So we're going to stamp "You Are a Ray" first on one panel. So because these are photopolymer, it's pretty easy to see where you're inking. So I don't even really need to mask this stamp. I'm just kind of looking through it and making sure I'm only inking that portion. So we're going to stamp "You Are a Ray" on one arch. And then I do have to get my chamois to clean it because we're going to stamp the other half and we don't want the first half. So let's clean this. Make sure that that's dry. And then we're going to ink "Of Sunshine." There we go. And let's just make sure that that's well inked. There we go. And then we're going to stamp that one on our second arch. Just like that. Okay. And then we can layer them on our DSP. I'll just set this aside for a moment. So if we think about where we want these, they're going to sort of offset a little bit. And then our sunshine is going to kind of come in the middle. So I just want to think about where my DSP arch is going to go. And I kind of want to make sure that it's going to be kind of centered between my sentiments on both sides. All right. So once I've got that where I want it, what I do is just take either a little bit of liquid glue. We're just going to shoot a little bit in there. And that's just going to allow me to tack that into place so that it doesn't move. Okay. Yes, it could be a Halloween card. Absolutely, Leata. That would make a fun Halloween card. All right, let's add a little bit more glue. Now we're going to go ahead and glue this right onto our DSP panel. And again, we're going to try and get this straight. Let's just adjust that a smidge. There we go. All right, now our DSP arch, we're going to add a little bit of gold twisted thread. Now, remember last week, I was having such a hard time with it falling off the end. This is my solution. It looks ugly, but at least I don't have the threads falling off the end. I took and I cut some slits in the end, and then I basically just stood it on it and I pressed so that all those little panels kind of squished, and that way my thread doesn't fall off the end. I don't know. It's working for me. It's not pretty, but it works. So I'm good. I'm going to stick with it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and add a glue dot to the back of our one side of our arch. And I'm going to take and press the end of my thread into that. I'm going to lay it across and then again, trim off the roll. And then we'll add another glue dot to secure it. Just making sure it's nice and straight. There we go. And then that is going to get popped up on our panel there. So we'll add a few dimensionals. And one more down here. I apologize for the sniffling. I know it's annoying. It's It's my pet peeve as a teacher, listening to kids sniffle in class. I'm trying to keep it to a minimum. I will be very happy when this cold finally gives up. Whoops, that's a little high. Let's put that a bit lower so we don't cover up our of. All right, get your fingers out of the way, Lena. There we go. That's better. There we go. Easy peasy. Now that is going to get glued to a gold mat. Now this is the gold that comes in that gold and silver textured metallic. Okay. So there you can see that beautiful subtle texture. And what I've done, because I don't want to cover up all that gorgeous metallic, I cut an arch out of the middle of it. I will use it later on another project, but I'm going to use it as a mat. And lo and behold, you're not going to see that cutout, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of seal to the back of my panel here. And I'm going to layer it onto my textured gold. I'm not going to press too firmly because I don't want to stick this whole thing to my grid paper. And I've got that a little high. This is why I like to use liquid glue when I'm doing narrow borders. Because sometimes you need to adjust. There we go. But if I use liquid glue, I'm going to have a big mess. So we're going to stick with the seal for now. Okay, so there is our mat. And then that is going to get adhered to a Night of Navy card base, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2. So we'll just fold that in half along our score line. And then I'm actually going to add a little bit of liquid glue here just to make sure that I can get this nicely centered on my card front. So we'll pop that on, wiggle it into place, and then burnish it well. There we go. All right, now a couple of finishing touches on this one is a little gold bow. So again, I'm going to bring back my gold thread. And we'll tie a little bow. There we go. And then again, to keep my thread from unraveling, I'm going to get it right back into the little slit that I've cut to hold on to it. This stuff is the worst. The twisted thread is the worst stuff for unraveling. So I have a very not pretty roll, but it works for me. All right, now remember that half glue booger or half glue dot that I used for the first card? Here's the other half. So we're going to use it on this one. So I'm going to put it right at the corner of my arch there. And we'll add our bow. There we go. And then our last touch, we stamped some birds on the last card. This time we're going to use some of these brushed brass birds that are also an online exclusive product. And we're going to add a few of those dancing in the sky. And we'll add one more of these guys. He's going to be flying upwards. There we go. You like that one? Okay, now I'm going to do the inside of this because I had a lot of really positive feedback from the inside. The inside is super simple, but it's a kind of cool effect with bringing in a little bit of that sunrise or sunset. Sunrise could be either, I guess. So let me just show you what I did. It's just a plain basic white panel, 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And then these are 3/8 inch wide strips that are going to glue on either side. That's all it is. You can stamp a sentiment if you like. I'm going to leave this one blank. Sometimes I like to have cards that can do multiple purposes and leave the sentiment on the inside until I'm ready to give it. So then I can add something appropriate for the occasion. So we'll add some glue to both of these. And I have to pick this up because I cannot see white on white to save my life. There we go. And then I just need to trim a smidge off these. Because clearly my measuring leaves a little bit to be desired. At least when I cut this piece of this. There we go. And then that's just going to get glued inside our card. Which one is it? This one. Oh, see? White on white. I'm getting a little bit of a white border there. I don't want that. There we go. Okay. So that's all there is to it. Really, really simple. But honestly, with this DSP, you don't need to put a whole lot of effort into creating something pretty. All right, our last one is a fun fold. If you've watched me for any length of time, you know that I love easel cards. They are an easy fun fold that still has a bit of a wow factor. So this is the easel card we're going to make, and it uses another online exclusive product, which I will be featuring a little bit later, called Everyday You and Me. So these awesome florals and leaves are from this bundle that is part of the scrapbooking brochure that launched in January. And I love these flowers, and I pulled my color palette from 2 pieces of the Everyday Skies DSP. So these are the sort of back sides of the patterns. So there's the blue stripe and the Moody Mauve wash, and that's what I based my color palette on. So it opens like this and stands up, and I love the way the arch shape is echoed on the inside. I just think that's a really pretty look for an easel card to have sitting on a mantle or on a desk. Okay, so let me show you how to make this one. It's really, really easy. We're going to start with our card base. This is again 4 1/4 by 11 inches. It's Misty Moonlight cardstock. I've scored it at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Okay, so 5 1/2 is our regular folds for our card base. So we'll go ahead and fold that one. Okay, and then that extra score line is halfway at 2 3/4. We're going to fold that inwards. We're going to make a mountain fold here because that's going to form our easel. Okay, so our card will stand up like that eventually. All right, so now we're going to layer some of that beautiful DSP. So these are both cut to 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. There's the back side. Okay, you can see the stormy sky there. And so we're going to go ahead and glue those on the top and bottom panels. I'm going to glue the top one first, and then on the bottom, we're going to add a little bit of ribbon before we glue it. So we'll pop this on just like that. Okay, now on this one, we're going to add some new ribbon that is coming March 4th, March 3rd, whenever the new online exclusives drop. This is 3/8. It doesn't even really have a name. It's just 3/8 wide white ribbon. No, it's not. It's 1/4 inch wide white ribbon. And it's got a little bit of texture, but it's really, really pliable. It's not, it looks like it will be sort of chunky and bulky, but it's absolutely not. Easy to tie a bow. I'm going to tie my bow because I'm going to need one anyway. So you can get a really pretty bow with it. Ties a nice tight knot. And it's also kind of cool because you can pull the threads on this and distress it a little bit. So you can get a kind of sort of shabby chic look with it. So we'll just trim the tails and we'll use that bow in a moment. But for this panel, we're going to go ahead and add just a layer of ribbon. And I am going to put this a little bit higher than I did on my sample. Once I had it on, I kind of went, oh, I should have put that higher. So I'm going to revise my design, which is my prerogative, right? It's my card and I can change it if I want to. Is that a song? It feels like it should be. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add glue dots to the ends of our ribbon, wrap them around the back side, and then that is going to get adhered to the bottom panel of our card base. So we'll just add a little bit of glue and we'll pop that on just like that. Okay, so that gives us our card front after we burnish it really well. Okay, so now we're going to work on the other elements from the front of our card. So I have a white arch. I think this is the second largest arch from the die set. And we are going to stamp "You Are Simply Fantastic" in Misty Moonlight. So we're going to ink this up. And again, anytime I have a large stamp, I just find it so much easier to ink taking the pad to the stamp rather than the other way around. And then we're going to stamp this, and I have to kind of look down. I might have to stand up for this one, girls. Here we go. Okay, so there's our sentiment. And then we're going to do a little bit of layering. Now, before I put my Misty Moonlight, not Moody Moonlight, that's Moody Mauve. Moody Mauve and Misty Moonlight. We're all about the M colors today. I'm going to show you, again, how I stamp, do my little trick by cutting the negative. So these ones I've already done, but these guys I have not. So I thought I would just, for those who haven't seen it before, this is my little trick for stamping when I have a lot of images to die cut. And one of the things that really annoys me is when my dies move, and I've stamped a whole bunch of images and then my dies move and then I end up having to do more. So this way I cut my blanks, okay? And then I'm going to ink up my stamp. Is this the right stamp? Yes. Yeah. I had to think. There's two leaf stamps and they're similar. So I've inked my stamp. I'm going to take my blank, put it face down onto my inked stamp. And then I'm just going to take another block and apply pressure. And voila, I get a perfectly centered image. Okay. Now for this little guy, this actually is a two-tone image. So I'm going to take my little roses here. I'm going to ink the leaves and stems in the misty moonlight with a dauber. And then I'm going to bring in my Moody Mauve and ink the blossoms. And then same deal. I'm just going to take and lay this over my stamp, press with another block, and we have a perfectly aligned image. Okay. All right. One more. We're going to do this large rose. Now this one is a little bit of a challenge. So you want to make sure you figure out which way it's going to line up first. So what I figured out, there's this little sort of bump on this one blossom, and there's a little bump here, and that's how I figured out how to line it up. It took me a minute, I will confess. Now for these, I actually stamped off. So I'm going to ink my stamp, stamp off on my grid paper, and then layer my blank onto my stamp. And there's my rose. Okay, now I am going to stamp a little bit of texture in the center of the larger roses. So there's this little sort of polka dot texture stamp that's included in this set. And I'm going to stamp these full strength just in the center of my larger roses here. And one more. There we go. All right, that's all of our stamping done. Well, all of the annoying, complicated stamping. All right, let's layer now a smaller arch. This is cut again from the DSP. So this is a different fun set, but this is the Moody Mauve. And this is going to be offset just a smidge. It's not going to be quite centered. If I had stamped my image a little bit higher, it would have been, but it's actually okay because most of this border is going to be hidden and we're not going to really notice that it's not perfectly centered. And you won't tell anybody, right? So I'm going to trim just a bit of my border here because I'm almost out of dimensionals. So we'll just add a couple more here and pop this on. All right, so we're going to layer this right about there. Looks good. Okay, and then it's really just a matter of arranging our flowers. So I just like to kind of get things positioned where I want them to start, and then we're just going to start gluing stuff down. There's really not a wrong way to do this. It's just floral arranging. So we'll add these little guys. We're going to add one large rose and one, which one did I use? I think I used this one. Okay, so we're just going to kind of do it a little arrangement. I might add another leaf up there. Yeah. All right, so let's just start gluing. I'm just going to use little bits of liquid glue here. We don't need a ton. These are really itty bitty die cuts. So there's our little roses. Add some leaves in here. And I think I'm going to add some, actually I might stick some leaves on the back of that one. Let's just add a bit of seal to this one. And then we'll add some leaves that way and then glue that on. Oh, you know what? I think I might have, did I pop this up? Yes, I did. I'm glad I remembered. So we're going to add a couple of dimensionals on this guy and pop this one up. So go ahead and add that just like that. And then we'll add a couple more of these guys. And then this one. And then our large rose is also going to get popped up. We're going to use minis because we're out of regular dimensionals. There we go. We'll pop that one on there, just like that. Okay. These ones we're going to save for the inside. So then that is going to get adhered to our card base. And because I put my ribbon up a little higher, I can actually move my arch so it's a little bit more centered. Do you see that? I like this better. So when we glue this, we want to make sure that we are only putting our glue on the bottom portion of the arch. So I'm going to flip this over, kind of place it where it's going to end up. And I'm going to add my glue. I'm going to put my hand over the part where I don't want to put glue. That's the best way to make sure you don't put glue where you don't want it. Okay, and then we'll flip this back over and pop this onto the front of our card. Just like that. Okay, and then lo and behold, our easel works. Okay, all right, now for the inside, we are going to layer this is the largest die, cut from the same DSP, and then the same size white arch that we used on the front. Okay, but first we're going to do a little bit of stamping of some leaves on this white arch. Not this one. We're going to stamp leaves, not flowers. Where's my other leaves? There they are. All right. So again, not really a wrong way to do this. We're just going to add some leaves here and there. And then I'm going to come in with the other ones, and I'm going to do these ones stamped off, I think. Just for a little bit of depth. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and glue that. Now, before I do, I just want to make sure that I am happy with where these are all going to end up. Yep, you know what? I think I need one more leaf there. So we're going to go ahead and add one more leaf just to fill in behind that rose. All right. Now, we're going to go ahead and stick this down. Whoop. See, I just tossed a rose on the floor. We'll get it in a minute. We're going to go ahead and stick this down onto our DSP arch. Okay, so a little bit of glue. And we will center this just like that. Okay, and then that is going to get glued inside our card. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and glue it down. We're actually going to pop up our roses, and that is what is going to be the catch for our easel. So we'll add some glue here. And we'll pop this inside. Hopefully straight. And relatively centered. There we go. Got to grab my rose off the floor. Oh, of course, it's way under my desk. Wouldn't you know it? Come here. There it is. All right. So these guys we're going to pop up. Now, we're going to stand up our easel where we want it to go and then place our flowers because we want to make sure that our easel is going to stand straight. All right. So let's get rid of these backings here. We'll put our large rose on first. And we need to think about where we want this to be. So let's have that right about there. Okay, now this next one is going to go on. We want to make sure, again, that it's going to be the same height as the first rose that we put on. So I'm just using an edge from my dimensional sheet here. So I'm just going to make sure that that is standing where I want it. And I'm going to place my rose so that it catches and stands evenly. Okay, this last little guy is going to tuck in underneath and be glued flat. So we'll just tuck that in under there. And there you go. How quick and easy was that? Now we're going to add a bow. Where'd my bow go? You know what? I think I might add this one on this side just because I changed the height of that a little bit. So we're going to change it up because we can. So we'll add our bow on this side this time. And then I remembered we have these Regal foiled adhesive back dots. These were in the Holiday Mini, maybe, I think. And I still have some, and I can't remember if they're still current. So if they're not, I apologize. I usually do not use retired product, but they have Misty Moonlight gems, and I really wanted Misty Moonlight gems, so we're using them. So I'm going to add a few of them on the front, and then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to carry some down. So I like to have this standing open when I place my gems so that I can kind of see where they're going to go. We're going to add one here and one here, and come here, you. One last one down here. There we go. You like that one? Pretty easy. Easel cards are great. There are so many variations you can make with them, and they don't require a whole bunch of fancy scoring or cutting. They're really, really easy to do, but quite a wow. All right, so let's bring back all our projects. So we got 1, 2, and 3. Clean up my mess here a little, and then I've got a few more to share with you. So every once a month, my team had something called Sunday Stamp and Share, and we just kind of sit and craft together over Zoom. Everybody's kind of working on their own thing. And so this week, this is what I made. I made a little alligator. So here he is using the arch dies, and this is the modern herringbone embossing folder. And then you open him up, and he says, "You're simply fantastic." There's his tongue. I didn't want to add teeth because I didn't want them to stick out the sides, but there you go. There's my little die art alligator. And then I had St. Patrick's Day on the brain. So here is a best of luck card with a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And of course, I use some of the Everyday Skies DSP for my background. And then on both of these sentiments are from the Unbounded Love stamp set. So best of luck, and then may all your wishes come true. And then from cutting all of these frames, I had all kinds of layers left. So I put together a really simple, really clean card using, I think this is the first time I've used this embossing folder. It's called Fun Patterns. And it's got this sort of scallop pattern in it. And I thought, how perfect is that with the arch dies? And then I have to show you, coming in the online exclusives next week is another coordinating stamp set called Arched Wishes. So this coordinates with the Everyday Arches dies and is perfect for birthdays, of course. So I put together this card. Now, those of you that were part of my customer appreciation event on Saturday, you saw how to make this card, but it is a pop-out card. But instead of doing cut panels, I used arches for my pop-out panel. So again, I used some of the Everyday Skies DSP, some of those reverse side patterns, and made my little pop-out. So lots and lots of fun. So many possibilities with these dies. So you got to keep an eye when they come back in stock. I will for sure do a heads up post because I have several people waiting for them. And they are, like I said, they are a must-have in your studio. All right. All right. Do we like them? Let's just see what we got here. Everybody likes them. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad you're enjoying these. The Rose Bundle, Terry, is called Everyday You and Me. And I'm going to be featuring it in a couple of weeks. It's part of the scrapbooking brochure, the online scrapbooking brochure that came out in January. But if you look at, if you just do Everyday, you will get the Everyday Arches and the Everyday You and Me bundles coming up. Okay. All right, everyone. Okay. I'm glad you like it. It's my party, and I'll cry if I want to. You got it, Terry. All right, let me go back so I can say a proper goodbye to everyone. Thank you for joining me today. It was pretty quick. It's only 5:43. Look at that. I'm finishing like 3 minutes early. Have a great week, everyone. I hope you enjoyed these projects. Do check out this awesome bundle, and I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.